Hi and welcome back to the channel. So this is a little video of a renovation I did probably a few years ago now on this house. So we went to look at the house, we quite liked it. You can see through the pictures here that it presented really nicely, and the only problem really was this kitchen, which really needed a lot of work. So we had to think about it and looked through all of the different options, and we went to the auction and it got passed in. So after a little bit of negotiation we did manage to secure it. You might want to pause here on the floor plan and have a look through that, and we decided to go ahead and make the purchase. So after we'd done that, we had a look through the house and it was presented really nicely. All the furniture was looking really good. Again, looking at the kitchen in detail, it was really in need of a makeover, and I did think that maybe we'd just rent it for a few years, but instead we rented it for a few months and then decided to get into that and do some work. So this is the plan that we came up with. This is a new kind of open plan kitchen. Decided to take out a wall and put in this brand new kitchen design, and now we'll get into how that sort of looks and how it went. Okay, so this is the sort of first time we got possession of the house after the owners moved out and started moving into the property that they had purchased. Just looking through the kitchen, as shown in those plans, thought most of this has to come out. Maybe we're going to keep the wall cladding, but I was going to start removing and just taking out the basic kitchen to start with. So all of those units came out, just carefully, just protecting all of the plumbing and the electrical work that was there, just making sure that that was all visible and maintainable. Got all the electricity tapped off and the gas and the water, and then slowly started peeling back layer by layer, finding out there was no insulation in the wall, or it didn't look like there would be. So got the floor all cleaned up, obviously had that big mark where the old unit used to be, a lot of holes in the floors, took out the cornice from the top of the wall there, and then started peeling back all of those cedar, I think they were, boards that were on the wall. That really started to expose things and really started to give a bit of visibility as to what we were looking at. And we did have some fun getting all the dust and finding all the old newspapers and all those sort of things in there, and then slowly kept on digging back until we'd exposed all the surfaces and we could really see on each of those walls there what everything was looking like. So I did try and keep all of the job site really clean at the same time. Obviously I was thinking about how that window is going to work, where the new sink was going to go. Did get a little distracted with a few things, so this aircon unit had to come out. That was sitting up through a wall, so lifted that down. So just there, the hole that was left from the removal of the aircon. So moving on, I had to look at the beam in the roof, had to work out how to reinforce that. It was reasonably structural, that wall, but got some drawings done and brought in this big beam. We decided we'd put that in above the joists, or alongside the joists above the ceiling. Did manage to squeeze it in through that very small hole and got it up into place, and then secured it at one end with a custom bracket that it tied it off against the corner posts of the original part of the wall there, and then at the other end across the original joists. And lots of hangers and lots of reinforcement there, ready for that wall to come out. So then just looking around the room, still similar to before, cleaned up a little bit. And here the electrician's been in and we've roughed out the electrical work, got all the sockets in place and decided where they were all going to go. Did work a bit of rudimentary lighting up, so it could work late into the evenings. I think this is just a similar picture, just getting the electrical finished and ready to start the insulation. So I did decide to insulate all of the walls, both the external brick walls there and those internal walls. I can't remember the name, the value of the R value of the bats that were put in, but that insulation was pretty good and pretty snug, and started to take that wall out at the same time, just leaving it propped up to make sure it was all level. So a quick picture there of some of the helpers before we get back into the insulation on the walls. All looking really tidy. Got the flue in for the cooker hood and just worked everything out, ready to work out where the gyprock was going to go. Worked on those two corners, and then also was having a think about how that floor was going to work out down the bottom. So I got the gyprocker in, did expose an old fireplace on the other side of the room. This was on the other side of the dining room or lounge that was sitting there. Did think about exposing that, but in the end decided that that was going to be best covered up for now. Just put a bracket in the wall there, ready for a future television mount, and then plastered that all up, as you can see there. Also covered up the aircon hole on the inside, just sheeted that over with some framework, and then skimmed over that to make that tidy, just to make it disappear pretty much. Base coat and a couple of top coats, and then put the gyprock in the kitchen, 2 sheets horizontal, and flattened that all out just correctly and screwed and glued all around. Just cut out for the window frame there, and then skimmed up all of the joints. And this is what we do locally. A lot of people skim the whole sheet. We just skim or stop the joints, both with tape and with 3 coats, and then we sand back smooth, and then paint applied directly to the paper and also to the plaster. So starting to look a bit more like a finished room now. All of that just tidied up, and then slowly moving on to the floor, finishing off some of the holes in the floor there with some battens and with some oak floorboards. That's what those are already. The original floorboards are oak. And then tried to work out how to do this joint, which was a bit like an expansion joint, but I just used short pieces and put those all across the joint with battens underneath, and then nailed down every single nail, punched down every single nail, and then filled those off with filler, ready for sanding. So before the sanding, then it was time to start painting. So I started to get in there with some of the undercoat and sealing off with the surfaces. Just looking a bit tidier, and masked off the windows and anywhere else I didn't want to get the overspray. And then started sanding the floor, so there was quite a bit of original varnish there and quite a lot of work to bring that down level, but probably about 2 days of sanding, working through quite a few of those drum rolls, and didn't really want to take it too deep, just wanted to take it off enough so that it was reasonably level and there was just a bit of evidence of the original varnish that was there. So there we are, just going through doing the sanding. Quite noisy, quite dusty, and quite a lot of hard work, especially the weight of that machine. That was the end result of the drums, and then the discs there for going through doing the edging. Getting on to the coating, polyurethane varnish I think is the coating system, so 3 coats, sanding between coats, and then starting to work on some of the other parts. So this is in the bathroom, working through putting in a new vanity was the first task. So that vanity is just up on legs, sitting on the original tiles. Had a look at the bath and the shower, which were really in quite bad condition. So decided to mask those off and coat those in an epoxy white bath paint, which didn't work out for the first product. Got a lot of peeling and bubbling. Had to sand it all back and recoat it with a different product, and that actually came up pretty good and is still working out well today. So kind of transformed that bathroom from the original pink to a much more contemporary black and white. And started work on the kitchen unit assembly. So some of that was flat pack and pre-designed, and a lot of it was custom designed. One example was this drawer that I made for underneath the kitchen, just to put your pans or your instructions in. So got that worked out, and then started assembling the kitchen itself. So corner pantry unit there, pre-designed. Brought in the doors, worked on the kitchen top there, 2 sides, and single joint, and the corner wasn't square, so of course that was quite a challenge. We put the dishwasher, the sink, the oven, the hood, got everything leveled up and got everything screwed off initially, so that's sort of half finished there, and then carried on pulling everything apart to make sure everything was plumbed up and everything was working okay. Got the gas installer in, got that inspected, and finished off the dishwasher there, and then worked on the splashback, which was a requirement, so a glass splashback there behind the hood on a non-combustible surface, and just about got things together there. Here we are going back to the bath painting, so rubbing that back down and recoating. Came up very nicely, same with the shower, rubbed that back down and recoated. Came up really well, and then moved on to some of the exterior work. So this aircon unit was in the bedroom, So took that unit out and plastered that up as well and got that bricked up. And the same with the big aircon unit in the lounge. That unit, those bricks came from inside the house, took them out from this wall downstairs and then backfilled that brick wall with some bricks that nearly matched but weren't quite correct. Worked on the splashback behind the sink there, so I had to trim everything down. Worked on all of the GPOs, the power outlets, making sure they were cut out and pulled through successfully. Just used adhesive to glue those sheets on. They were actually an acrylic sheet, not a glass sheet, all the way around the kitchen. Really starting to come together there. And then there was a little bit of work on the outside, so there was no railings on the edge of the deck, so I decided to go with this unpainted steel. Bought some steel strips in. That was the edge of the deck, where it was probably a 2.5 metre drop off the edge of the roof of the garage. Built some frames using some flat iron. Built some support posts that would go out on the deck. Those are now screwed down to the surface, and then assembled everything up and welded on site in situ and tidied up that edge of the wall there. Okay, and then just at the end here, there's just a little bit of a walk around. When everything was finished, it was a bit of a late night, this one. There was a bit of work to do outside as well, clean the windows, re-putting the window seals in. They'd all failed, so it needed new brushes. And then you can just see here, just a bit of a walkthrough, I think. Well, we'll go in, have a look through the front bedroom. That's all cleaned up nicely. All the floors were sanded in every room. There was quite a lot of paint touch up in the rooms. That wall there was stopped and filled and revitalised. Walking down the corridor into the second bedroom. Same in here, floors all the way around, skirting boards painted. Walls weren't too bad, and the wardrobes needed a bit of repair. Into the third bedroom, much the same. Quite a good sized house, this. So walk around there. Then the WC, repainted the ceiling, I think a little bit later actually, maybe after this. The bathroom, repaired the hinges on the bathroom shower screen there. Vanities looking all brand new and tidy. Down the hall and the laundry. This wasn't fixed at the time, but the floor was fixed on the laundry later. Might put that on the end of the video or on a separate video. That's just up into the loft space. And then into the main kitchen diner. So this is the new sitting dining area. With all the floor repaired and sanded, and that wall completely repaired. That wall repaired there with the large aircon. And then through to the open plan now, kitchen diner. So quite a transformation really to the original design, and much more utility, space for the fridge, space for your keys and your coffee machine. Everything new and shiny. The doors were vinyl wrapped, came in from one company, the carcasses came in from another. Decided to go with those light carcasses over the dark carcasses, the doors, just for that contrast look. And then just a quick scan across the garage there. And I think that is, apart from a couple of the pictures just for the viewings for the house to be rented out, I think that might be just wrapping up to the end of the video. So I hope people found that interesting. Certainly enjoyed doing it. Took probably about 10 weeks to do all of that work, mostly single-handedly, apart from the electrical, gas and plastering work. Everything else pretty much was my handiwork there. So I will use those skills on further renovations. There's a few more we've got planned on different things, but we'll see how we go and see what we can come up with and which bits I'm going to share and show you again. Not sure why we're going around the rooms again. I think this is just on a different day, a bit more daylight this time, so you can see what's happening. Some of these videos were used by the agent, a lot of the pictures were used by the agent just to show the house off and to show it ready for viewings. So do shout out and put in the comments what you think of that work. If you need any inspiration, maybe you can copy a few of the design ideas there. It did work out. I guess the cost would be a good question. I think it was in the range of US $15,000 in total. So it was done on a pretty tight budget. A lot of the items were bought individually, and all of the trades were engaged individually. So no builder was used, it was all self-managed and certified as we went through. Just some of the detailed pictures here, I think, through the cupboards and the like. These are actually the slow-mo or the steady shot pictures. I think that's the difference there. Okay, I hope you enjoyed all of that and you get the same sort of ideas, and let me know if you took my inspiration and used that for your own house designs. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. So just wrapping up at the end, this is the laundry floor. So the old grey floor started to lift a little bit, and that was looking like it was going to be a problem. So this was a little bit later, and I did notice there was actually a third floor underneath that sparkly floor. So I decided that I would put down some clipboards, some false floor, floating floor, ripped all things out and had to do some more nailing and some wood repairs there to some rotten wood, put down a sheet so that it would be waterproof, and then laid down that new floor all the way back under the laundry there. So I think overall that came up pretty good. It isn't quite as good as having it sanded and matched into the rest of the house, but being as this is a laundry and quite a wet area, it's quite likely people are going to spill things and that's going to come out underneath. So that definitely wraps things up, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video and for the next project.